Today's episode of Overlooked History is about the world's greatest scary story contest. In 1815, Mount Tambora in Indonesia erupted, in one of the biggest volcanic eruptions in history. The volcanic ash spread throughout the Earth's atmosphere, blocking out the light from the sun. There was so much ash in the air, Asia, Europe, and North America were plunged into a year-long winter, and many areas suffered famines. The year 1816 became known as the Year Without a Summer. Some accounts referred to it as 1800 and froze to death. During this time, George Gordon Byron, the sixth Baron Byron, better known as Lord Byron, was facing many scandals that led to him and his wife separating. Lord Byron left England and traveled to Lake Geneva in Switzerland. Beginning on June 10th, he rented a mansion near the lake called Villa Diodati. While at the lake, Lord Byron met Percy Shelley and Mary Godwin, and the three became friends. Percy and Mary knew each other already and later married. Mary Godwin is now better known as Mary Shelley. Percy and Mary visited Lord Byron at the villa often, and became friends with Byron's doctor, John Polidori. Because of the eruption of Mount Tambora, the weather was very rainy and cold, so Byron, Polidori, Shelley, and Godwin all stayed inside Villa Diodati. The four sat around the mansion reading scary stories, including the French anthology book Phantasmagoria. After reading many of the tales, Byron proposed they each try to write their own scary stories. For several days, Mary Godwin couldn't think of a story to write. One day, the four were talking about the nature of life. Some of the biggest scientific experiments of the time involved taking dead frog legs and shocking them with electricity. The electricity caused the muscles to move, making it look like frogs' legs had come back to life. This idea was called galvanism. Mary Godwin decided that a story focused on galvanism could be very exciting, and she began writing it late at night. Originally it was going to be a short story, but Percy Shelley convinced her to make it a book. Her story became known as Frankenstein, and was published in 1818. John Polidori was also having trouble writing his story. He decided to ask Lord Byron for help. Byron told Polidori of a creature from folklore called the vampire. Using these stories as a basis, Polidori wrote his own short book and called it The Vampire. This book is considered the origin of a modern vampire story. While four writers were stuck inside a mansion, two of the most important early horror books were written. Amazingly, both stories can trace their origins back to a volcanic eruption in Indonesia. Thank you.